You know, it isn't every day you get to actually review something that a friend worked on, and that's kind of the dream, right? Like, I think all of us growing up wanted to make games. In some way, shape, or form, making a game was a dream for all of us. What's going on, everyone? I'm Jay, my channel is Square Pegs, and today we are talking about an NES homebrew made by my good friend, John Riggs. That's right, we are taking a look at his new release of Yeah Yeah Beebiss 2. So in order to tell the story of Yeah Yeah Beebiss 2, you need to understand the story of Yeah Yeah Beebiss 1. And this is something that I didn't know about until John started talking about the game in our Facebook group chat. Now, I'm pulling all this information from a Kotaku article. It will be linked in the description down below. And the interesting thing about Yeah Yeah Beebiss 1 is that it didn't necessarily exist. No one has ever seen it. There's never been any information about it released. Like, here in the West, the only thing that exists of it was an ad on like Funkoland or a couple other mail-in ads where you could buy used games or sell your games. And it was listed with a purchase price and a sell price, which is really interesting. Now, there's all kinds of theories on what it is. It could have been a Super Pitfall sequel that no one knew about. And there's a theory that it's also a poor translation of a Japanese game, which is just as possible as anything. But no one really knows because there's no screenshots or any kind of lost media out there. It just kind of exists as an anomaly. But that's where John Riggs comes in. Now, John decided to make this game based on the kind of mystique behind what Yeah Yeah Beebiss 1 was, and he decided to put this together and came up with a really interesting game. Now, the entire design process behind the game, I will leave up to John on his channel to deliver to you. That is his story. This is his tale to tell. I am just here to review the game. Now, I will be upfront with you. The one that got mailed to me, I would love to show you what the box looks like, but my post office, I think, played a soccer game with it, and my box was wrecked, completely destroyed. Luckily, the contents of the box are great. The cartridge is fine, the manual is fine, and John has been good enough to actually be sending me out a new box, which I will do as a short. I will show it to you then so you guys can see what it looks like. But for right now, we are just going to look at the game, and you guys know how I do my reviews. My reviews are done on 4 bases: looks, sound, gameplay, and aesthetics, and this game is dripping in all of them, let me tell you. Now, from a looks perspective, the game is a classic NES 8-bit jumping platformer enemy eliminator, for lack of a better term. You can play as one of 2 characters. They both have a slightly different appearance and a slightly different attack animation, or I guess presentation, but it's the exact same damage that they do. There's no real differences there. And you go through a series of 10 levels, competing through to defeat a boss at the end of your 10-level run, at which point you will start over again at level 1 and continue your way through. From what I understand, there's 100 levels. I haven't beaten the game yet. I played about 38 levels, and I kind of figured that was enough where I was going to be able to make my review known, because, I mean, it is essentially the same thing over and over again. I want you to understand that up front. But from a graphical perspective, it looks really good. The enemies on screen are the same size as your character, so that's pretty neat. It actually feels a little bit threatening. They have some really neat design aesthetic to them. Like, they have, like, awesome, like, Oni mask faces that are floating around. There's a dragon with a prehensile, we'll call it a tail, that will shoot out at you. And then there's these flying orbs as well as when you get to the last boss, which looks like an angry potato. And it works for some reason. Like, there's just a bunch of eyes in this big glob in the middle of the screen, and it looks really good. And the neat thing about it is, as you go through, the color palettes are going to shift a little bit on each level. It just kind of works. Like, everything in the game just fits together. The sound in the game might be some of the best NES music I have ever heard. It's done by Chips and Cellos. If you do not know who Chips and Cellos is, you absolutely need to listen to their channel. They do unbelievable music, and they provide the soundtrack to this game, and it just sounds unbelievable. It's all classical music, so it's all like royalty-free or anything like that, and it just sounds so good. It's all done in an 8-bit chiptune style, and it sounds amazing. I love their channel, and I love listening to the music that they create, and the music that they made for this game is just magnificent. Sound effects-wise, pretty basic, pretty standard NES stuff, but it works. Nothing over the top, nothing that doesn't fit. It all just blends together and works really well. Gameplay is interesting. So like I mentioned at the start, you're going to have 10 different levels that you're going to loop through each time, and each enemy on the screen, except for the flying eyeball guy, is going to take 3 hits to defeat. Now, you're going to be moving around the different platforms, and you're going to have to be jumping over obstacles, and you're going to have to be jumping up the ladders, which was something that I didn't expect at first. I kind of figured I'd just be able to press up on the D-pad to go up the ladder, but you have to jump. And it actually adds a little bit of strategy to the game where you're able to kind of lessen your jump height a little bit to try to position yourself correctly on the different ladders that go up to the different platforms so you can leap off to another platform and attack another enemy. And it all works really well. the game is difficult. Like, it does have a difficulty curve. This isn't like classic NES hard, but there is a difficulty curve here where you're going to go, that level got me again. In particular, level 7 for me is one that kept getting me repeatedly. Like, I would have a great run where I would just zip through levels 1 through 6 without a problem, but the second I got to level 7, I stumbled and I fell. And it was the good kind of NES frustrating when that happened. It was something where it was like, oh man, come on, this is so close to being where I'm almost going to make the run, and I just couldn't quite do it. And every time I've played it, that has happened on level 7. It is one I can't wrap my head around. So the way you play the game is very simple. You have a jump button, you have an attack button. As you're playing, there is a timer counting down. You're going to collect different items that the enemies drop. Some of them will pause the time, some of them will give you more health, some of them give you a bonus points, and some of them will add 15 seconds onto the timer to give you more time to defeat the required enemies for that level. And each one will have a certain number that you have to defeat in X amount of time. Now, it's a very basic setup. But the challenge there is the fact that the more complex the levels get, the more enemies you have to defeat, which means you have to be thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead on how you're going to complete a jump. So if you go up to the top level and you defeat an enemy, but there's one down on the bottom, which way are you going to go to jump off to save yourself time to make sure you get there? And by the way, don't land on the spikes because that'll take a heart away from you. It's a lot of planning. It really is the sequel to a game I never knew I needed, but I wish I'd had as a kid. I would have eaten this game up with a spoon to play this because it's such simple gameplay, but it's so effective and it's so well balanced that I just kept wanting to go back for more. Now, from an aesthetics perspective, I can't tell you how good the box art is. We're going to have to skip that one just because my box was damaged, but I can talk to you about the manual, and the manual is a full-color manual with story, with gameplay, with enemy information in there. It's exactly what you would want from a classic NES game. It feels like an NES manual. It feels like the manuals we used to crack open on the drive home from the toy store, reading them, just waiting and getting excited to get home and play. The cartridge is stark black. It's a classic Mega Cat Studios black cartridge, and it looks fantastic. The label artwork is gorgeous. It's just, the aesthetics of the game are fantastic. I love kind of the intangibles that this game offers, and just the possibility of someone making a game and being able to put something out that is this well polished and this much fun to play. It's really well done. Alright guys, there you have it. My thoughts and first impressions of the gameplay of Yeah Yeah Beavis 2 from John Riggs and Chips and Cellos, just incredibly talented, wonderful people working on a great game and making their dreams come true of actually creating their own NES game physically on a cart for sale. You can pick this up at riggs.storeenvy.com if you're looking for the NES version. There is both a cart and a complete in box version. Both of them are fantastic. Both of them look great. There is also a Dreamcast version coming soon, and you'll be able to pick that up at wavegamestudios.com. Now, this is going to be a physical Dreamcast release, which is incredible. This is one I am eagerly anticipating. I cannot wait to get my hands on. And if you are just a strictly modern gamer and you are just going for digital copies of games, it will be released soon on the Nintendo eShop. This is amazing. John, I am so proud of you for making something so cool and just so much fun to play. This is top of the line. I absolutely love it, and I hope to follow in your footsteps one day with my own thing made via NES Maker. Please hit like, please subscribe down below if you're new around here. And hey, if you really dig the work I do, consider becoming a monthly Patreon sponsor like the wonderful folks you are seeing on screen right now. And be sure to check me out online all over the place at social media. I am at YTSquarePegs. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can also find my merchandise at squarepegsyt.com. Until next time, folks, I have been Jay. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me as we look at Yeah Yeah Beavis 2 from the incredible John Riggs. Until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.